Welcome to the Swag Zone, a show that's dedicated to the ins, the outs, the ups, and the downs of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. If it's good, we'll talk about it. If it's bad, we'll talk about it. If it's happening, we'll talk about it. The Swag Zone, only on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Let us join this week's episode.
It's the radio guy, Mike Friends. Welcome back to the SWAC Zone, the voice of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, where we try to give you news you can use each and every week. This week will be no exception to the rule, even though this is my week of eating crow. I will have to eat a lot of crow, and I am so fortunate to have on the line with us the guru himself, Coach Van Pettaway. How you doing this week, Coach?
Well, I'm riding real high right now, Dr. Prince. I think you said a mouthful. This is another great week of SWAC basketball, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I found out that I like my crow with a little hot sauce, and a Pepsi to wash it down and makes it taste just right, sir. All I can say is wow, and we bow down to you, sir. Definitely have the upper hand. The Bulldogs did their thing on both sides of the court pretty much the entire weekend, and I know you're ecstatic about how your Bulldogs are looking right now.
Right, particularly on the women's side. On the female side, they're looking like they might contend for this championship. They're going to give Jackson State a run for their money, even though Jackson State has the tiebreaker against Alabama A&M. But this race is going to go down to the end.
No doubt about it. And, the thing about basketball, you just want to make the tournament, and your seeding is important to a degree.
Right.
But if you can make the tournament and you're gelling and clicking at the time the tournament rolls around, it's up in the air literally for anyone.
That's true.
So with all that being said, sir, my hickeys are slightly down. Got to get ready for this Texas Southern game this weekend. Then we'll have that Monday off. But we're down, so I guess we'll start into the painful recaps over the past week of basketball action, and the floor is now yours, sir.
Okay, sir. Good. Well, down at Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson State played host to Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State, they showed their dominance. They won that game 82-60. And then down at Lorman, Mississippi, Alcorn State played host to the Lady Rattlers, and they won that game 72-60 in that particular ball game. And then on to Arkansas Pine Bluff, the upset of the day. Arkansas Pine Bluff beat Southern University Jaguars 70-53. And down at Mississippi Valley, at Inabena, they played host to Grambling State. Grambling State showed their dominance by winning that game 71-57. And then up in Huntsville, Alabama, I was really shocked. Alabama A&M won a game, but they didn't win it the right way. They won the game 72-69. And by me saying winning it the right way, it was a game where they were favored, and they had to come from behind to win the basketball game, 72-69. And then in Montgomery, Alabama, your Prairie View Panthers fell in overtime to Alabama State, 77-74. And I know that had to put you in a dark place when that happened.
No doubt about it, sir, and that's a very nice family-oriented way to put the position that I felt. It was a good game to begin, but like I said, it was just Alabama trip was a funky trip. That's all I can say, man. It was just it felt, how this is about a rhythm and a flow,
right?
And you saw it trying to get together. They played at spurts. I'm talking about the entire Alabama trip, but there was some good to come out of it. But we're not talking about good. We're talking about wins and losses. We need the wins. But
right.
They gave it the old Panther try.
Right. Yes, they did. And then that brings us to Monday. Monday in Lorman, Mississippi, Alcorn State hosted the other Florida school, Bethune-Cookman, and they beat Bethune-Cookman 58-49. Down in Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson State hosted Florida A&M, and they won that game 72-51. Down in Itta-Bena, Mississippi, Southern University bounced back, and they beat Mississippi Valley 74-43. And then another shocker at Arkansas Pine Bluff. Arkansas Pine Bluff played host to Grambling State, and they won that game 64-57. And then in Montgomery, Alabama, Alabama State played host to Texas Southern. They won that game 81-73. And then that brings us back to Huntsville, Alabama, where your Lady Panthers went up against my Bulldogs, and our ladies came out on top 66-55 in a game where Prairie View showed a lot of resilience. Those ladies fought. They fought back because the game, everybody thought the game was over with in the first quarter because of the 18-point lead that Alabama A&M showed. But your Lady Panthers fought back and closed the gap at halftime. But in climbing a hill, a lot of times you don't have enough energy to get over on the other side, and they still came up short in that game.
Yes, sir. They came up short, and of course, I know you're going to remind me about this down the road, and I'm okay with that too, Coach. I really am. But I'm really still excited about the way the Panthers have been playing up to what's really coming to the half of the season. A lot of new transfers. Just in case, I'm excited the way Pine Bluff has been playing up late too. And they got a lot of people come through on the portal. And we talked about it all the time, the advantages and some of the disadvantages of diving into that portal to get these teams together. But the expectations is so right now today, and it seems like the formula of building programs, it's almost like now it's plug and go. We don't have time for all these excuses. Let's get it done, and let's get some wins.
Right. And so after Monday night's game, the standings look like this. Jackson State and Alabama A&M are tied at the top with 6-1 records. Southern is at 5-2 along with Alabama State. And your Prairie View Panthers are at 5-3. And then you have Prairie View and you have Bethune, Cookman, and Grambling at 4-3 each. And that's the way this is shaping up on the women's side. So there's a lot of great basketball to be played. And to be honest, this upcoming week, we're going to have some great matchups, and this will determine a lot about this conference race on the women's side.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Huge weekend coming up. We know this is Prairie View, Texas Southern weekend. You can throw the records out the window just like with any rival. But with Texas Southern being the home team in this round, it would really be big for the women and the men, for that matter, to get this road victory in position for the start of the second half.
Right. I feel real strong about your Lady Panthers against Texas Southern. I just don't think they have the horses to last a 40-minute game. I do think that they will make a game of it because it is a rival. But I think Coach Pugh has too many horses in the stable to let that one get away.
Well, I'm gonna have to lean on your wisdom for that one, sir.
All right. And on the men's side, on Saturday, down in Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson State played host to Bethune-Cookman, a game that ended up being a lot closer than a lot of people anticipated. Jackson State won that game 70-66. And then down at Lorman, Mississippi, Alcorn State played host to Florida A&M, and they won that game 57-47. And in Pine Bluff, Arkansas Pine Bluff hosted Southern, and they won. They upset Southern 62-55, and that was one that we didn't see coming.
Well, Coach, you're the one that said now. You're the one that said that you were very interested to see that matchup last week. You know, and to your credit now, Southern kind of got sucker punched.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Pine Bluff is, once again, the portal has helped them. And they've got some kids in there, and it's going to be interesting down the stretch. And then in Huntsville, Alabama, I was disappointed on Saturday as my Bulldogs played host to Texas Southern, and they lost 70-59. And the final score is no indication of how dominant Texas Southern was in this game. But the thing that I did find out before the game, talking to Coach Jones, he had players that had been hurt for the year that would be returning in that game, and they did, and they were immediate impact. And then
I told you that one. I told you they had some injuries.
Yep.
And 7 AC, my foot. You say what you want to say. Don't nobody want to see them at that level.
Yep. And then down at Itabena, they played host to Mississippi Valley played host to Grambling State. Grambling went in there and won 65-61. And then finally, your Prairie View Panthers were in Montgomery, Alabama, and they lost that game 56-55 in overtime.
Yes,
and that was a game that I really thought Prairie View would be able to get in there and get out.
You and I both, Coach. You and I both. But I'll summarize that game with 2 words: free throws.
Free throws, yep.
That's the only way I can summarize it.
Right. And then that leads us to last night, Monday night. Arkansas Pine Bluff played host to Grambling State. Grambling came out of there with a hard-fought game. They won that game 77-70. Down in Mississippi, in Lorman, Mississippi, Alcorn State played host to Bethune-Cookman, and they won that game 76-68. In Itabena, Mississippi Valley hosted Southern. Southern won that game 84-70. And down at Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson State hosted Florida A&M, and they won that game in a nail biter, 59-58. And then in Montgomery, Texas Southern put together back-to-back wins as they beat Alabama State 71-65. Then that brings us back to Huntsville, Alabama, where my Bulldogs showed up and showed out on Monday night and won. They beat Prairie View 67-59. The final score is no indication as to how the Bulldogs played. They held Texas Prairie View scoreless the first 7 minutes of the second half.
I don't have to be reminded of that, Coach. I really don't. I got to take my medicine like a big boy. And I was I won't say I underestimated your Bulldogs. Maybe I overestimated my Panthers. But I was thoroughly impressed, man, with the way those guys are playing defense, man. Unbelievable.
Right. Yep. And so on the men's side, the conference standings look like this. Southern and Alcorn both are 6-1 records. They're both tied at 6-1. Grambling State, Jackson State are 5-2. Arkansas Pine Bluff, the surprise, is 5-3. Alabama State is 4-3. And then after that, Alabama A&M is 3-4, and Prairie View is 3-5, along with Texas Southern. So Texas Southern is on the uptick. They have now won 3 in a row. They're looking strong. Alcorn State has won 6 games in a row, and they're looking like they're our team to be reckoned with. And so that leads us to this week's schedule, and I think our schedule for this week is going to give us some very intriguing matchups. Starting on Saturday, Jackson State's men have to go into Grambling. That's going to be a big test. Your Prairie View Panthers will be going to Houston to take on Texas Southern. And then you got Alcorn State going to Baton Rouge to take on Southern. And I'm talking about these are matchups on the men's side that I think will have a big impact on what's going to happen down the stretch. Now, for the ladies, the game that I think is going to be intriguing is going to be Jackson State going down to play Grambling. Grambling is one of the teams that has a chance at their place to beat Jackson State. So we'll see that. And then also on the women's side, on Saturday, Alcorn State going into Baton Rouge to play Southern. That will be a big key. And so
no doubt.
Those are the games on Saturday that are shaping up that will affect the conference race. And then on Monday, the big showdown, Jackson State at Southern on the women's side.
Yes, sir. A rival matchup and very well contested teams going at it. I want to put you on the spot, Coach, because, you know, I'm not doing my job if I don't put you on the spot every now and then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say hands down that Jackson State is probably the best women's team in this conference at this point?
Yes, even with that loss to Prairie View, I still say top
yes,
to
sir.
bottom, they've got talent. They have talent on top of talent. They
yes,
have some
sir.
people coming off their bench that could be starting at some of the other schools in the league.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And it appears, I don't know if it's just me being over analytical, it seems like that Coach Reed's voice is getting louder and louder.
Yep.
Are you noticing that, Coach?
Yep. She's making a difference. Yep. She's
no
getting
doubt.
it done.
No doubt. Now, when it comes to the men's side of things, no doubt that Southern and Alcorn at the top. If you had to pick one right now, this is the spot. Which of those two would you say is that team at this point, and why?
Well, I would think it's Southern, and my reasoning for that is I think it's more on the line for Coach Wood. So I think he will push his troops probably a little bit harder than Coach Bussey will push his troops. Bussey is in a better situation. He just got to Alcorn. Coach Woods is coming up on the end of his contract. He did not get an extension last year. So this is a contract year for him. And a lot of times when we as coaches come up into that contract year, we pull out all the stops. We pull out all the stops. So for that reason, I'm banking on Southern being the team that'll come out on top. This weekend is going to tell a story now.
No doubt it will. No doubt it will, and it's going to be some great basketball to partake in throughout the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Now, Coach, you know I cannot end this session without addressing the elephant in the room, and that is what has taken place in Bethune-Cookman country. It all just says disaster. It all just says blown opportunity, and it just, for also lack of a better term, just a hot mess, Coach. What is your take on everything that has taken place, and how do you see this thing?
Well, first of all, I want to say I think it's just unfortunate that we're in this situation. And when I say we, the spotlight that's on HBCUs because of what's going on at Bethune-Cookman. Some very serious things are being said about the administration and what's going on at Bethune-Cookman. Coach Reed is even questioning whether or not an athletic director can be part of a major sport and still do the job that needs to be done. I just think it's very unfortunate. I think the blame can go to both sides. I think Coach Reed has done and said some things that probably should have been kept behind closed doors. And then I think the administration may have jumped the gun because you got students on campus protesting because they want Coach Reed to be their coach, to be the coach of Bethune-Cookman. And it's just a mess right now. And I just don't see how either side is going to benefit from what's going on right now.
No doubt.
And then what you're doing, who's going to be hurt in the long run? The student athletes.
You're absolutely right.
The people that were on campus this past week. But then I think we're missing something here now. if Coach Reed was not under contract with Bethune-Cookman, how are they having recruits on campus? How is he talking to the student athletes and the parents if he's not under contract by the university?
Well,
there are a lot of things that they got to look at now.
It screams violations from the hilltop, and the only loophole that I could try to remotely summarize, and it's probably not fair for me to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway because that's what I do. Because they're a private institution, they could say he was there as a volunteer, perhaps, and which gives them a little bit more wiggle room to justify him being on the campus.
Volunteers cannot. Volunteers in the eyes of the NC2A have a lot of restrictions, and I think the recruiting process is one of the things that a volunteer cannot participate in.
Right. Well, I tried, Coach. I tried. I really was. I'm still recovering from these hickeys. I told you from the bulldog beat down. So I really tried. But when you talk about some of the things that Coach Reed addressed, and you and I talked about it when Reggie Theus was announced as the athletic director and basketball coach, we said, man, that's going to be a tall order. And to try to fulfill that on the D1 level is a lot. But in the same breath, Reed knew that when he accepted the position, that was the case he was walking into. Right?
That's correct.
So, and here's something else that I guess, because, okay, do you really have to start dragging other people in? Coach Reed drug in former coach Terry Sims, questioning how he operated and his character and his backbone. Then he even drug in Eric Dooley from Southern, talking about how Eric Dooley was mistreating his nephew who had transferred from Southern to Bethune-Cookman. Okay, whether those are truths or not, I don't know. And like I state, I do care to a degree and concerned because of the HBCU factor. But like I know, Coach, we don't have time to be throwing and casting shade on other people in particular because what's not working at my particular situation. That's not a good thing to be trying to ward off. And when the dust really settles, it's almost like the throwing the rock and hiding your hand. If I'm going to play the blame game, you know who I really play in this, folks? This might sound crazy, but I'm going to blame the NCAA for creating moving targets with all the mandates that they're constantly adding to create this degrees of separation. And I'm going to blame the HBCU administrators for continuing to take the bait on the hook.
Right.
They keep changing the schematics of operation. As soon as we get acclimated, okay, we finally got it the way they want us to get it done, they started adding more wrinkles, and it keeps digging us deeper and deeper in the hole. At some point, we are going to have to say, okay, let's hit timeout. We are not getting anywhere. Keep chasing this dream. Let's look at the reality of who we are. Let's look at the reality of what we have. And let's look at the reality of how we need to operate and develop a system within those criteria.
Right. It sounds like you might be on the edge of our HBCUs looking within themselves and saying, we need our own entity. We need to we need to step back and look at if we're going to form our own conference, MEAC, Swac, or are we going to bite the bullet, swallow our pride, and say, we don't have the money to operate at this level, and let's become a super Division II conference. I think that's where we're headed. I think that's where we're headed. Because as the NC2A keeps adding different things that these institutions have to provide for the student athletes, where is the money coming from? Out of all the things that we have talked about over the last few years, everything comes back to one thing: money, or the lack thereof. And that's where it is.
No doubt, Coach, no doubt. Now, the pride of our institutional leadership and even the fan base would seem not to want to accept the possible and realities of going down to Division II because of, well, what are we going to do and how are we going to get the funding? Well, we're asking those questions right now. Okay, we lean on the support that we do have from our law, and they can only take so much of the leaning. You know, we're trying to figure out how to include new blood for this thing to continue on. And this thing is like you build a dam and you got holes everywhere. And the dam is serving somewhat of a purpose, but eventually it's going to flood the other side because of all the holes in the dike, on the dam.
And I'm gonna give you another scenario that they should look at. You already have FCS in football. Why not just create FCS for all the other sports and leave the Power Fives to themselves, and then the rest of us, we go FCS? Would that help the situation? In other words, not just FCS in football, but your FCS in all your other sports, so that you don't have to have those same requirements.
And the thing that's good about FCS sports, it is regional. It is regional. It is regional based, and because of that, it's going to have its longevity. The Power Fives have already, and I'm going to tell you something else. Those Group of Fives, you're nothing but glorified FCS programs. Correct. As far as the Power Fives are concerned. They've already proven and established that they don't want to be bothered with anything or anyone else. And it would change the dynamics to a degree, but I just had another epiphany moment, Coach. You got the NCAA tournament, which we know that is a moneymaker, no doubt about it. But you know what else is a silent moneymaker that could become the FCS championship run, and that's that NIT tournament. You could change the schematics of that NIT to be the mecca for FCS.
Yes, right.
And brother, everyone wins. You still would have the interest. You would even probably gain a little bit more TV revenue if you restructure that thing that way.
That's true. That's true. So now, if we can see this, our powers to be have to be able to see it.
Well, Coach, I'm about to put a smile on your face. I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody. Because we all we can do is put it out there in the atmosphere, right?
Yes.
And if we continue to beat this hammer and do the things, because it's really forcing this hand right now, Coach. It's forcing this hand. And as you mentioned, if you and I can see this, the powers to be got to be able to see this. But here's something that I've learned about people and their behavior. You know, once you get so embedded into the habit of doing things, you get caught up in denial. And you don't think that you have a problem that everyone else can see all the day long.
Right, because another thing that this incident at Bethune-Cookman has done, because of what they're bringing out, now people are looking at all HBCUs the same. In other words, they think all HBCUs have the same problem as Bethune-Cookman. We may have problems, but not on that level. They may not be that severe. Because when you start, one of the things he's talking about are facilities. Well, at Alabama A&M, we've got great facilities for football. Now in basketball, you just opened up a $65 million event center. So the structure is there for some of the schools. So we can't paint a broad brush for all HBCUs. And I think that's what is happening with all of this stuff that's coming out about Bethune-Cookman.
And on that, I'm going to say yes and no. And I didn't mean to cut you off. And here's why I say yes and no. Because you made one thing so clear that anyone can obviously see this. Yes, in a degree that we all have the same problem, and that's money.
Correct.
Okay. Now that money can start changing and redirecting a lot of the challenges that we've been experiencing. Okay, but it's not the cure-all. I do understand that, acknowledge that all day long. It is not the cure-all, but it can help offset some of the things with the facilities. And with the facilities, Coach, and people that hear this might not like what I'm about to say, with our performance and attendance, we don't need any football stadiums to exceed over 12,000 on our campus. I'm telling you, because we are fair weather. We feel that stadium. Well, the games that you really feel the stadium on, in you all's case, would be the Magic City. That's not on either home campus. You got over
right. That's not on our campus. Correct.
Right. Okay. But other than homecoming, what's capacity is that stadium at Cruz?
We're at 21.
21.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you see that thing to capacity, Coach?
Only for homecoming, if that.
Okay. And most of the other times it look like a ghost town, almost too embarrassing to have on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, we got to look at the reality of that, because with all the video aids that we're facing right now, it's all about the image, right? It's all about the brand. Why do I want to have a TV game that looks half empty? And half empty is not sending a good signal to any recruit, any potential sponsor. Ain't nobody at the game. Why should I spend my money nor my time there? So we have to look at all these things. When we look at our basketball arena, okay, I believe Texas Southern can hold 7,500. I know Prairie View holds 4,000 now with the restructure that they've done. I'm thinking anywhere, if you average those two, that's what, 11. You should have an arena anywhere between 35 and 5,500 for basketball. Okay? I think that's a strong, solid number for our attendance. Not just the occasional rival game, but consistent attendance. And until I would rather have an event where it's not enough seats than an event where there are too many seats, because the supply and demand will come up. Now, this is the business side speaking, and folks will get those tickets early because they know if they don't, they're going to be left out.
Right.
I agree.
I agree with you. I agree that this whole thing, we need to take a serious look at how we do business and what's best for the HBCUs. I think a study needs to be done, and I understand that there have been several studies done over the years, but I guess we have not used the outcome, the results of the surveys or the studies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it's like this, and I have no qualms and disrespect for studies, analytics, and all that. All that is great, and it's a part of today's operation. But as an old preacher once told me, you got to put aside some of your hallelujahs and put on some hallelujahs. Okay? And we got to make things happen. That's our problem. We study. And there's no saying, Coach, you study long, you study
wrong. Yep.
Okay, and we got the study. And even if you don't have all the study, let's start putting something in motion that's going to get us out of this rut that we're in. And the first thing, I don't know about how you operate your home financially. You know, you got probably way more money than I have, Coach, you know, with your illustrious coaching career.
No. That's a misnomer. That's a misnomer.
And so when it comes down to operation costs, and I'm just going, as they say, budget economics 101. You look at what's going in versus what's going out.
Right.
Okay, and you compare to a want versus a need.
Yeah.
And you strip that thing down, and then you say, this is my wish, this is my reality of where I am. Okay, and this is what I absolutely need to make it happen. And let's go in reverse order to start redirecting what's going on. Because when the dust settles, Coach, the economic structure in higher learning is changing. And it won't ever go back to what we've been accustomed to, what our generation was accustomed to. And with all those approaches and dynamics, you have to adjust on the economical side, the educational side, and the athletic side of future endeavor.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. And so we didn't turn this into a HBCU soapbox today, but it's going to be okay. As you often state, there's some things we just got to talk about and get it out in the atmosphere.
Right.
And for those who are listening, we're not complaining. We're trying to come up with some solutions that can help us move forward. We love this conference. We believe in this conference. And it's not really an attack on the leadership of this conference. It's just a looking at the man in the mirror of where we are. Coach, nobody has to tell me that I'm fat if I know I'm overweight.
Right, correct.
I look in the mirror every day. And, of course, we're all heavier than what we used to be back in our prime. But I know that I put on some weight since I last played at Prairie View.
Correct.
No one has to tell me that. Now, if I continue to put on weight, then I'm going to have to do something about getting that weight off of me to be at what I would feel, healthy and comfortable at and presentable. And it starts within. Look at the man in the mirror, and what's the first thing I know for me, Coach, if I'm going to shed some pounds, I'm going to have to give up some of them Pepsis.
Oh, yeah. We all got vices that if we're going to move forward with that we have to make choices and correct decisions. And that's what we're talking about now.
Yes, sir.
Are we looking at making the right decisions in terms of our viability? Where are we going to be 10 years from now, 5 years from now? So I just think putting it out there gives people an opportunity to just think,
Yes, sir.
and come up with a plan.
Well, I think we got the ball in their court now, and there is whoever want to respond to what we went over today. So I would apologize for extending our time today, but I won't, because I meant everything I said, and I'm sure you meant everything you said. And with that being said, we're going to give you some closing thoughts on this segment right now.
Well, Dr. Prince, today is a prime example. Keep doing what you're doing. You got to put the word out there and let them hear it and let them receive it. Continue doing what you're doing, sir.
All right, my friend. I think my last hickey is just about subsided right now. Maybe I had to talk it through, and I feel a little bit better now. That's good. Yeah, that them A&M hickeys that went down. But, Coach, we love you and appreciate you here at the Open Mic. And we look forward to the continued conversations. Keep doing a fantastic job, sir. As always, he is the guru here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I'm the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. You're listening to this segment of the Swac Zone here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at the Mike Prince Show, the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We want to take us a break. We'll be back with more of the Swac Zone here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
We are the station designed with you in mind, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, where we are serving the community through faith and athletics since 2002. We are located in Prairie View, Texas, where we are dedicated to serving the local community with sporting events, church services, and information. You're invited to tune in and to join us each Sunday morning for Temple of Refuge Ministries live broadcast, Building the Kingdom One Soul at a Time, Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time. Each Monday through Friday, tune in to hear The Mike Prince Show as he covers the world of HBCU sports and beyond. This show has been the driving force for daily information when it comes to HBCU athletics. And tune in to listen to the Swac Zone each Saturday mornings. The Open Mic Broadcast Network covers Little League, high school, and college athletics. We also broadcast local community parades and events, and you can check us out on YouTube for our latest content. If you would like to help us support our broadcast, you may do so by making a donation at www.obnradio.com. We are the station designed with you in mind. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, where we are serving the community through faith and athletics since 2002.
All right. It's me, Donna G, on the MIC with DG Sports and Entertainment, coming to you with the Swac Zone. We're headed into the weekend, so let's check out our Swac basketball standings. I want to first give out a shout-out to my alma mater, PV, as well as wish good luck against our rival, STU, better known as Texas Southern University, tomorrow at TSU's HPE Arena. Now, let's get into the Swac standings going into the weekend, like I mentioned. So we have Jackson State at the top with 6-1. Alabama, and they're tying Alabama, but of course, I guess from head to head, they still end up being number one. So Alabama A&M is second. Next is Alabama State with 5-2. Southern is next with 5-2 as well. Prairie View comes after that with a 5-3 record. BCU, Bethune-Cookman, comes in with a 4-3 record, followed by Grambling State. All right, so next after that is Arkansas Pine Bluff, and they're 4-4. Alcorn State is 3-4. Florida A&M in conference play is 1-6. Texas Southern is 1-7, and Mississippi Valley stays with an unwinning record for now, 0-8. So I also want to wish some well wishes to Valley in the start of their season. So come on, guys, you can do it. I know you can do it. So awesome. Well, it's been a lot going on this past week with Swac, with the Swac. Now, last week I asked you guys to call in or write in about the Ed Reed situation at BCU. At that point, I was just talking about what do you think about him speaking out on the conditions there at Bethune-Cookman. I think he was talking about the conditions of the office and conditions of the grounds, and there's some things, homeless people he encountered, things of that nature. So I got a few people to chime in about that. Most agreed with Bethune. Well, most were a little upset with Ed Reed for, I guess, putting Bethune-Cookman on blast and, telling everybody what was going on at the school. I, for one, think it was good for Ed Reed to mention what he did. I don't think he should have done it in that way, and I definitely don't think he should have done it before signing the contract. That's like a no-no. But I'm glad that everything has been exposed so that hopefully some things can become better for BCU. So then, over the course of the weekend, BCU put out a letter rescinding talks and negotiations for Ed Reed to become their head coach. So that's even more drama. And that's not what I was intending on when we actually spoke about when I actually asked you guys to chime in about the Ed Reed situation. I want somebody who is interested in speaking his point of view. It's my boo to the former cooking man of KPBU, Mr. Dwayne Johnson. Say hi, baby.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hello, Mike Pence. How are you?
All right. So listen, I was just talking to everybody and bringing them up to speed about what's going on with the Ed Reed situation. And I was like, last week we asked everybody to call or write in what you thought about him just giving the information, right, about his stay and the grounds and the condition or whatnot. But then over the weekend, we couldn't even get to next week or this week. Then BCU put out a letter rescinding their negotiations and things of that nature. So I told you, hey, that sounds about right. You can't go talking about your employer, even before they're your employee, bad-mouthing, cursing, doing some things that were a little unprofessional. And you had a different opinion. What's your opinion?
Yes, I did. My opinion is the interim president of Houston, of Bethune-Cookman University was definitely wrong. He was wrong in the event that he fumbled the ball big time. This was his time to shine. And because this was his time to shine, he missed out on a lot of money that could help his university. So my standpoint was, okay, the guy went on a rant, and you didn't agree with his rant, but this is the time not to fumble the bag. So you should have pulled him in, had a conversation with him, still offered him the job because he had a lot of celebrity money in place that your institution obviously needs because of the horrible conditions at Bethune-Cookman, and the state is not stepping in, obviously, to rectify the situation over there at Bethune-Cookman. So, yes, I had a different opinion. I totally disagreed with that interim president, and that's the beginning of my take.
Yeah, so I get it. So you think he should have held an olive branch out in for him and just made sure that business is business, right? And take that money on. Yeah. And I'm saying my view is I get that. I mean, of course, Bethune definitely needs the money. But, all money ain't good money, so we'll say that. And then all circumstances are not the right circumstances, I'll say that. But also, again, like I mentioned, I don't know where you can go and badmouth your not even current employer. You know, he hadn't even signed a contract, so I think that was not very smart of him. I think he should have waited to sign the contract and did it a little smoother, you know. But we're here now, and so that was definitely crazy. And everybody's been up in arms about that all week, you know, just having different opinions on what should have been done, who should have said what, you know. Now that it's out there, like I said, I feel like now that it's out there, it's a great opportunity for somebody to step in and to help Bethune-Cookman. You know, it definitely should not have been hid. And on the other hand, I'm like, hey, you at least clean up the person's office. I mean, you might not have the best facilities, but get the custodian in there and clean up the man where the man's supposed to be. I mean, that's just like having a guest come to your house and all your stuff is everywhere. You know, it's not cleaned up. Everything's not straightened up. The bedroom is not together where the person's going to be staying. So I definitely think that Bethune-Cookman could do a better job at their presentation.
I agree, too, you know, because if they would have cleaned that office, they wouldn't have had these. I don't think they would have had a rat. At least make it look. I mean, you can't fix it up. because you don't have the money, right? But make it look presentable. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, all this could have been avoided if it was presentable, but you didn't. Like you said, it's like inviting somebody to your house, and they go into the guest room, and there's your dirty drawers all over the bed. The bed's unmade up, and there's food bowls all on the full floor, and you're saying, "Hey, sleep here." Well, if that was presented to me, I'd be like, "No, I'm good. I'm going to get a hotel," because I'm not doing that because you didn't even think enough of me to at least clean that up, and that was wrong on that part. But that interim president, he never mentioned that he fumbled the ball when it came to that part. He never mentioned that. Okay, let me take accountability. And accountability, I should have had that clean. Or if he designated that to somebody, he should have gone behind them and made sure that that was taken care of. And then second of all, you let him on campus. And no, you hadn't signed the contract, but he had keys to the office. He could open it up and go in it, and he had access to the golf cart thing that they drive around campus, all that stuff. So somebody gave him permission to do that. And I think that if you didn't have it ready, you should have said, "Hey, you can't come until this date," and then that way you can get on your staff and make them, get it presentable for it.
Absolutely.
So you dropped the ball, but when you were on the Roland Martin show, this same interim president got, his main concern was we're a Christian university. He kept saying this over and over, and I don't think I fired it. I mean, I didn't honor his contract because I didn't like the music that he was playing in the background, and I didn't like the cuss words he used. So we felt he was very unprofessional. Well, to his avail, he's a pro athlete, and I come from a family of pro athletes, okay? And I've been around a lot of pro athletes, and their use professionalism they don't have to really have until they're talking to the media. And a lot of them have been in these circles with very rich white men, and they have been kind of coddled, and they've been able to cuss and do what they want because these very rich billionaire white men and multi-millionaire white men that are in these rooms that's inviting them into these rooms, they don't care what they're saying because they see them as, oh, you're just this way anyway. So he's from humble beginnings, but gosh, he's a great football player. Because he's a great football player, we're going to take all these pictures with him, and so they kind of idolize these guys. They kind of idolize them. So because they kind of idolize them, these guys get used to being themselves and not having to be professional. And because of that, I think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a good thing because I feel like they have to, the same way you talk to the media, you should talk in those rooms the same way and show that you have intelligence. But a lot of them, that goes out the window because they just don't have to.
Yeah, now that's true. So now I know that you were corresponding with Ed Reed, right?
Yes, I was on Twitter. I was, and I was corresponding with him because I thought that Prairie View, our institution, should give him a look because if Bethune-Cookman was missing out on that money, why not Prairie View? Now, we're not as bad in the red as Bethune-Cookman, but we're in the red, and we could operate years in the black if we get that celebrity status. I felt like if he came to our campus, saw how beautiful and how clean our campus is and how nice our facilities is, I think that he would be pleased. I don't think he'd be going on no rants, and I think he would love being at Prairie View.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds good. Well, definitely we need somebody with juice. That's your favorite saying. Need somebody with juice to recruit.
Yeah.
Bring that
juice
money
to
in.
recruit. Yes. Yes. It's no reason that Prairie View A&M should not be the dominant factor in the Swac. We should be winning the Swac almost every year. because we have everything there to attract the recruit.
Right.
You know?
Right. Absolutely. So speaking of
and this is no diss on Bubba McDowell. I like Bubba McDowell, but I feel like Ed Reed has more juice, and the juice to recruit and the celebrities are going to pay the money through him.
Yeah, I think they're just different personality. You know what I'm saying? It's not a Dion or Ed Reed. You know, he's more quiet or what have you. But since he's the guy at Prairie View, we're waiting and looking and making sure and hoping that he can get the job done this fall. And speaking of Prairie View, and speaking of Prairie View and facilities, there was another thing that happened during the week, and that was Shannon Sharp. So I think him commenting on Ed Reed and Bethune Cookman and things of that nature, he wanted to say, hey, you know, everybody, these HBCUs got, bad campuses and things of that nature. And he put in Prairie View as one of those schools.
Yes,
he led with Prairie View. He failed to mention his own school now, Savannah State. Maybe he was ashamed that he hadn't really been given that much, but, you know, that's another story. But, yeah, what do you think about that?
I think that Shannon Sharp, as much as I like him, I think that he was wrong for that because he just was speaking kind of sideways out of his neck at the time, and he hadn't done his research. And he doesn't realize that the saying that feeds into all the blacks that are like saying they're glad they never went to an HBCU and that they went to a PWI, and it's making them feel empowered. And then it's also it's a kind of coon tactic in my mind, because when you said that, you kind of you're sitting across from a white guy, Skip Bayless, and other white guys. They all look at that like, yeah, I knew those guys over there, those blacks over there, are just messing up and not running a university right. It plays into their narrative. So no, I felt like Shannon, if he wanted to talk about the schools that have horrible conditions, know what you're talking about before you say it. There are some HBCUs that are in terrible conditions, but then if you're going to talk about them being in terrible conditions, then why not use your platform to say, hey, all my NFL buddies and all this and that, I think we should reach out and help these schools because they're obviously in bad shape. Let's give something to them. And that right there would have been a good thing, because you on a show where the Nielsen ratings are very high, everybody's watching it throughout the day, and it might trigger some rich white man to say, hey, if these athletes are doing this, hell, I'll send some money. Let me pick one of the schools he named, and then, you know, go on his social media, on his Twitter, and put that out there. You know, hey, these are the schools that are in desperate need of help. So why not help them? And right. I think he should have been more of an advocate if you're going to talk about how poor they are, because I mean, we're talking about Bethune-Cookman fumbling the ball, but the other schools are probably looking like, well, what did I do? I mean, I know it's raggedy here, but why you got to mention me? You know,
right? Right.
You know, exactly. Without helping me. That's almost saying, hey, man, you got a raggedy car, but you a multimillionaire. Well, man, can you help me out? Can you fix it? Can you fix it up? Would you like to help me fix it up? Because I'm obviously having a bad time, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I think Shannon Sharp was completely out of line for that, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And even though he apologized, but he didn't apologize to the universities that he named. He just did a general apology.
Right.
So, you know.
So I think, right, I'm with you on that. I think that since you named the different universities to start with, you need to go back and name them and apologize. You know, like, why is it working a different way on the reverse? You know, you're apologizing, hey, say them by name, again, so we can get that coverage. And you're right, he definitely should be an advocate, being that he's an alum of an HBCU. So he knows. He definitely knows. So he needs to, and it's not too late, Shannon. You can still be an advocate, and definitely be an advocate of Prairie View. We're like all that NFL money, okay?
Sure,
bring your buddies over there. And since Ed didn't go there, and he said he had, who do you have, Dwayne Wade and some other person lined up? Yeah, I can
he had
send
Dwayne Wade. Shaq was a big donor, because the companies that were endorsing Shaq, they were ready to give, like Papa John's, General Insurance, all these different avenues. They were lined up saying, hey, we'll match whatever Shaq gives. If Shaq gives $1 million, we'll give $1 million. You know?
Exactly. And so, hey, we'll take that money as Prairie View.
That's right. That's why I reached out to Ed, because I was like, hey, I've met the guy a couple of times. He seems like a guy that's a good guy, but I do agree with you on one thing. He does need to tone down wearing his emotions on his sleeves like that. Somebody needs to get in his ear and say, hey, Deion need to tell him, you might have to just go home, go somewhere, don't make a rant, and you do all the cussing and punching a punching bag. Go work out like you, and just be mad, and that's fine. That's fine. At least once you get through working out, you're calm enough to kind of show some professionalism. He hadn't had to show professionalism since his college days, because that's part of his image. He's the guy from the hood that became extremely rich and became a Hall of Famer. Yeah. He's got the gold jacket and the statue and all that. So in his mind, it's like an old habit that he's going to have to work on. I think Deion is good with him. He calls him his little brother, and Deion can, get him, teach him how to play the game. Like, you have to play the game, man. You can't. This isn't an environment where everybody is gawking you like these real rich white people and stuff. They just want to be associated with you just to say they're associated. Now, they'll give their money to be associated, because money is nothing to them when you're a billionaire. Well, yeah, I'll give $2 million to your charity. I don't care. It's nothing to me. It's like giving $200,
Right, exactly. That's so funny. So, listen, we're going to draw this to a close, but I want to, so each week I pose something for the followers to get back with us on during the week, and then we'll come back and comment on it and have a discussion about it. So I know you guys seen a couple of weeks ago where Hugh Jackson had his players, those who he's just recruited or whatnot, in front of his vehicles, and I think they were told him money. I got definitely a boom box and big gold chains, stuff from the 90s.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, as one Graham fan mentioned to me, hey, it worked. We got all these views and comments and things of that nature. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I'm with it. To me, all attention is good attention. You know what I'm saying? If they ain't talking about you, then I don't know what you're doing. And that's good and bad. But, what do you guys think about it? Do you think there was a little exploitation? Do y'all think that, it was a little tacky? Or are you all for the way that Hugh was displaying the football players a couple of weeks ago? So chime in again, DG Sports and Entertainment on all platforms. I'm sorry, DG Sports ENT. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And also, go on there. Tell me what you think about everything or what have you, and we'll definitely bring your views on next week. These are opinions of DG Sports and Entertainment, Donna Glover and Dwayne Johnson, and not those necessarily of the Mike Prince Show. Thank you so much, and you guys have a great day.